There's this huge misconception around you just being able to do everything yourself because you've joined a forum on Facebook, or a friend at the barbecue has said to you, yeah, just do this, this and this. But actually you do need to surround yourself with the right professionals.
Clients that have come to us and said, my mortgage broker said I can get $200,000 property. You're not buying anything for 200 grand, but then come to us and we can get them 650, 700 by maybe going to a second tier lender.
We need a good mortgage broker. We need a good solicitor. We need a good financial advisor, an accountant, or a buyer's agent as well. I think there's obviously like a lot of misconceptions around you just being able to jump into the property market and do it all yourself, right? But actually we do have to have like an A-team around us. So let's just kick it off with how we help as mortgage brokers and the different things that we can do to help strategize investors or first home buyers or whatever it might be.
Firstly, we deal with pretty much all the major lenders, second tier and third tier lenders. Also, there's a large team of us. We've got now probably we've got about 12 brokers in-house. So we're staying on top of all the policy that's available. There are new policies coming out that most people aren't even aware of, like on a weekly basis. As an example, you can buy with 95% no LMI with specific lenders, obviously, or with a specific lender. Not all lenders are offering that product. The other thing for us is the fact that we deal with everybody. We don't have a favourable lender that we would go for. We'll go for the best lender for the client that we're dealing with.
For the best strategy, basically.
For the strategy that suits them, yeah.
And we do a lot of things, like I did see in the news last week that there was a guy that had a $6 missed payment that affected he got a decline basically by going to like one of the major big four lenders just by having like a $6 decline on his credit score. So we do things like credit checks up front. We do all the serviceability on the calculators. So before we even submit the deal, we know that it's a deal. And I think if you go direct to your lender, you're going to have like one or two or three products, right? Whereas you come to us, we know the policies that are changing, different updates, first home buyer schemes, different territories have different things going on. So it is quite difficult to navigate. So having a mortgage broker is definitely crucial, not only just for that and the strategy, but arguably we get better rates with the lenders anyway.
Yep.
So we're able to escalate pricing in ways that if you went direct to a lender like Westpac and they're offering 6.1%, chances are, because we do lots of business with them, we can actually get 6.00% and get like that 0.1% off.
And I think the other thing as well, just to remember that, one, we get paid by the lender, so there is no fee for our clients that come through. The other thing as well is, like, it's a convenience factor. Like, most banks are open as their bank hours are getting shorter and shorter as we go. I speak with some of my clients after hours because clients are busy. So I think from a convenience factor, you can request docs, get it back to us when you can. The process that we have, time is money in what we do.
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly. And also we do annual pricing for customers. Your bank isn't going to call you up and say, by the way, we've got cheaper rates available. They're just not interested. So we're the ones that are chasing the bank down to say, we know that you've got this new rate and you're not offering it to an existing customer. We want to reprice our customer to this, or shopping the market for better options, every couple of years and making sure they're on the best rate possible. Let's go into solicitors.
Solicitors are crucial because there could be issues with the property that you're going to look at. You're not transacting every day. They are reviewing contracts. They have a process involved. They do their own due diligence. Situation the other day where a building had concrete cancer. Owners, weren't familiar with that. Solicitor's advice was clearly, you need to be careful if you're going to proceed with this. And the clients decided not to proceed because of that issue. But that due diligence is I think that just saved them because that's a major cost that can come down the line. Solicitor is there to protect you from making a mistake, can also make sure that the terms are correct, get to review the contract. Contracts can be very complex. You don't know what terms are. I have heard of the other side, let's say a vendor side, inserting unfair terms. You wouldn't know that that's an unfair term.
And I also find as well that if a customer is going themselves to auction or putting an offer in on a property, the real estate agent who is selling that property on behalf of the vendor is very pushy on, we need the deposit tomorrow and, there's no cooling off period. And if you have no cooling off period and you've sent a deposit over, suddenly you owe the vendor 10%. regardless of whether your finance can get put into place. So you do need that solicitor to structure the calling off period correctly, and different calling off periods for different types of loans as well. Yeah, it is crucial to make sure that you have a solicitor which knows what they're doing. We both use buyer's agents, so let's touch on this because I think they are worth their weight in gold. And if you find the right ones and you work through their strategy and we work together with them, it's a gold mine at the end of the day.
Yeah, so there's kind of two types of buyer's agents, I would say, that are out there. You've got the ones that really focus on that owner-occupier market, very area specific. Then we've got the investors buyer's agents. Like you touched on, I think buyer's agents really can help. They're in touch with what's going on around Australia, where there's really great opportunities around there. Again, they have access to off-market deals. I think one of the biggest issues people sort of come up with today is that I don't want to pay that buyer's agent's fee. It's, I'm not going to pay X amount of money, or that's a cost. And I think that you shouldn't really be looking at it as a cost, because a good buyer's agent is worth more than what their fee is. We've seen transactions where buyers agents have bought properties for people and instant equity from day one.
So they know which way the sun's coming up and going back down again. They know which catchment zones certain areas are in. They know if you go from this street to that street, the growth from this street is going to be 2% higher per annum. Even with the property that I've just purchased through the buyer's agent that we use over in Western Australia, I had no idea that the train line was going to be finished in the next 4 months, but he knows that area perfectly. So it means that when I'm getting all of this information come in, I'm like, great, this guy's done his homework. The level of detail that they go into as well, just from the full breakdowns of how much you're paying in property management fees, how much your mortgage is, the instant equity available, it's worth its weight in gold. But also, if you can't afford a buyer's agent in its full capacity, a lot of buyer's agents will do auction negotiation for you, and they'll do bite-sized bits of it for you as well, which is definitely important in places like Sydney. Because if you're an owner-occupier and you're going to auction, you get very emotionally invested into purchasing that property, and chances are you're going to pay 5 or 10% above market price. But even if you could just pay the buyer's agent to assist you, the auction process or just a piece of it, it definitely helps a lot.
But like I think you just said it there, which is buying a property is a very emotional process, and most people get very emotional in that transaction, and they tend to pay overs. The buyer's agent is actually a skilled negotiator. It's what they do day in, day out. They're unemotional to that transaction. So they are going to go and get you the best deal. I've seen it too many times. Most people just go into an auction, or they'll actually go and negotiate in a hot market, and they just pay overs, where the buyer's agent would do that because, again, that's what they do every single day. And remember, they're negotiating with skilled negotiators, which is the real estate agent. Which is what they do every day. So you just let the professionals do what the professionals do. Let's be honest, nobody really wants to pay tax, but we have to pay tax these days. Like they say, it's one thing that's guaranteed in life. I think the main thing is having a good accountant. Again, because property is such, I guess, a popular vehicle in Australia, and there are tax benefits, negative gearing, things like that.
I think a lot of people just think about paying the minimum, right? Because they're just like, when they get to the end of financial year, they're like, I just want to pay as little tax as possible. But, it's important definitely to have the right accountant and the right broker to be like, look, this is the kind of level that we need to be making in order for you to get the next property or buy the next 2 investments or do the next renovation, whatever strategy you're going down. It is important to have that accountant. But also for new businesses that are, performing really well, we might have to take them down what we call an alt doc strategy. So you go to a lender which will go off an accountant's declaration, and essentially you're putting down how much you're earning. But, for a lot of businesses that are 3 years running, the way that everything's looking, it's just not what a big four lender wants to see. They want to see the last 2 years tax returns. And for a lot of people, that's just not possible. If you've just moved to the country and you go self-employed straight away, or you just set up your business and it's doing really well, but unfortunately the bank wants 2 years financials, you've got to have an accountant on board that's willing to sign off on things to get you to grow your portfolio when you're in that early phase of running a company or being self-employed or whatever it might be. Let's touch on financial planners next. We've had customers in the past that something tragic happens, like your partner dies, and suddenly you're left with 4 mortgages and a single income with 2 kids, and actually having a financial planner that's set up protection around that is really, really important.
Yeah, like you said, it's really about asset protection and making sure that you've got that kind of insurance plan protection in place in the event something goes wrong between, say, a couple or a person, and more about how they're going to make sure that if in the event that something happens, how do they manage their mortgage, or how do they manage the rest of their home loans if they've got multiple home loans, especially if they were going to go down to one income, or even what happens if, unfortunately, if something really bad happens. Some of it will probably lean back into also making sure that you've got a will in place, which will go over to the solicitor, but it's also making sure that you've got structures and insurance in place to make sure that you are able to carry on that, because the worst thing you would want to do is have to sell that property and you haven't got a home because you can't afford to be able to, maintain that mortgage.
Yeah, I think when you're young and single, you kind of don't think about this type of thing. And as soon as you settle down and you have a couple of kids, you sit there and you're like, oh God, like if something happened to one of us, how are we going to keep all of this? Little things like if you do have a close family trusts and putting properties into family trusts and things like that, they help, because if you've got a group of you involved, this is obviously higher level strategy, but it is really important to seek out financial advice, and you don't have to take it at the end of the day. Like if you're in your early phases and you just can't afford the structure of it, that's fine, but it is definitely worth having that 30 to 60 minute phone call with a financial planner who understands property strategy and how to set things up correctly in order to protect you long term. Well, I think that kind of covers our A team and who we use. You can't just sort of jump into this and do it on your own. You've got to do it with the right team.